Hello, little ones. Welcome back to Giggle Smiles. Snuggle up with your cozy blanket and your favorite teddy bear because it is story time. Tonight, we are going to meet the smallest, most courageous little elephant in the whole wide world. Are you ready? Let us go. Once upon a time, in a beautiful golden savanna, where the grass was tall and the sky was wide and blue, lived a tiny little elephant named Ellie. Now Ellie was the smallest elephant in her whole herd. All the other elephants were big and strong and tall. But Ellie was small, so small that she could walk right under her mama's tummy without even bending her head. Can you walk under something like Ellie? Tippy-toe, tippy-toe. That is wonderful. But even though Ellie was tiny on the outside, her heart was the biggest, most beautiful heart you ever saw. Every morning, the big elephants stomped through the savanna together. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Their feet shook the ground. Boom, boom, boom. But when little Ellie stomped, her feet made the tiniest sound. Tap, tap, tap. The other young elephants sometimes laughed. "Look at tiny Ellie," they said. "Her stomps sound like a little mouse. Tap, tap, tap." And Ellie would look down at her little feet and feel very sad. "I wish I was bigger," she would whisper to herself. "I wish I was stronger. I wish I was just like everyone else." Every morning, the big elephants stomped through the savanna together. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Their feet shook the ground. Boom, boom, boom. But when little Ellie stomped, her feet made the tiniest sound. Tap, tap, tap. The other young elephants sometimes laughed. "Look at tiny Ellie," they said. "Her stomps sound like a little mouse. Tap, tap, tap." And Ellie would look down at her little feet and feel very sad. "I wish I was bigger," she would whisper to herself. "I wish I was stronger. I wish I was just like everyone else." All the big elephants looked around nervously. The storm was too fierce. The wind was too strong. Nobody wanted to move. But little Ellie pricked up her ears. Her big brown eyes went wide. "Someone needs help," she said. "I have to go." Her mama grabbed her gently. "It is too dangerous, Ellie. Wait for the storm to pass." But Ellie shook her little head. "I cannot wait, Mama," she said bravely. "Someone is out there right now." And before anyone could stop her, Ellie ran out into the storm. Tap, 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 tap. The rain lashed against Ellie's little face. The wind pushed against her tiny body. But Ellie kept going. Tap, tap, tap. She followed the tiny voice through the tall, wet grass, around the big muddy puddles, past the rocky riverbank, until she found him, a tiny little tortoise named Tommy. He had fallen on his back in the mud and could not get up. His little legs were kicking desperately in the air. "Oh no," cried Ellie. "Do not worry, Tommy. I am here." She carefully pushed her little trunk under Tommy's shell, and with all her might, she pushed. And, flip, Tommy landed right side up. Hooray! Tommy blinked his little eyes. He looked up at tiny Ellie standing in the pouring rain. "You saved me," he said softly, "but you are so small. How did you do it?" Ellie smiled the biggest smile. "My size does not matter," she said proudly. "What matters is what is in here." And she pointed to her heart. Tommy looked at Ellie for a long moment. Then he smiled. "You may be the smallest elephant," he said warmly, "but you have the biggest heart I have ever seen." And Ellie felt something wonderful blooming inside her chest. Something warm and bright and beautiful. When Ellie and Tommy came back through the storm together, the whole herd was waiting. They had been so worried. When they saw tiny Ellie walking proudly through the rain with little Tommy by her side, every single elephant in the herd raised their trunk to the sky. Toot! That is how elephants cheer, little ones. Can you raise your trunk and cheer like an elephant? Toot! Wonderful! Ellie's mama ran to her and wrapped her big, warm trunk all the way around her tiny, brave little girl. "I am so proud of you, my darling," she whispered. "So very, very proud." That evening, as the storm cleared and the golden sun came peeking back out, Ellie sat with Tommy watching the most beautiful rainbow stretch across the savannah. Tommy looked at Ellie. "You know what I think?" he said thoughtfully. "I think the biggest hearts always come in the smallest packages." Ellie giggled. And from that day on, Ellie never ever wished to be bigger or stronger or different, because she understood the most wonderful secret of all. It is never about how big you are on the outside. It is always, always about how big your heart is on the inside. And so, little ones, Ellie taught us the most beautiful lesson tonight. You do not need to be the biggest. You do not need to be the strongest. You do not need to be like everyone else. You just need to be brave. You just need to be kind. And you just need to listen to that beautiful, big heart inside your chest. Because your heart is big enough to change the whole world. Sweet dreams, little ones. You are so, so loved. Good night from Giggle Smiles. See you next time.